Good afternoon. It's me again, Filippa from WonderScience, and I have a special guest here. It's a very dear friend of mine. We did the PhD together in the same lab, but he did this undergraduate. Correct me if I'm wrong. But he did his undergraduate studies in Sheffield, which is a place in England where all the rock bands came from. Really.
Some of them, yes.
Arctic Monkeys, and it has an art and music history very well known. And then we had a very great time doing the PhD together. He was working mainly in neuroscience. And then I don't know much. Then you have to help me, Will, about your background of your postdocs. You went to Heidelberg. You were in
Yes.
France, weren't you?
Yes.
So could you, the first question is to complete a little bit more. I don't know the last details of your academic career, but could you tell us a little bit of your postdoc experience abroad? How was it? Because when I met you, you were very English, and you were the most British guy in the lab.
Oh, I think that's a compliment. I'm sure I'm still very
Yes.
English. So after I finished my PhD, I moved to Heidelberg. I went to EMBL and I worked with somebody called Carl Neumann, and we studied fin development in zebrafish. And after that, I did a second postdoc. I moved to Munich with Laure Baliquif, where I started studying behavior. And then Laure's lab moved to Gif-sur-Yvette, which is near Paris in France. And so I moved
Great!
based near
So
Paris
for
in
me,
France.
so you were in Germany, Munich, Heidelberg, Munich, France, near Paris. When I met you, you were only in England. So how is to live abroad? How is, because for me it was quite strange. I was very young, and I had to adapt to Steve Wilson's and Mazatada's lab. And then you had the abroad experience. How was it?
Yes, it was fantastic. I really liked living abroad. I spent 10 years outside of England. In the beginning, it was very hard. I spent 7 years in Germany, and the first years were difficult because
Yeah.
everything is a little bit different, and I had to learn the language. And I didn't find it so easy to live there. But after a time, I became very happy, and I liked living in Germany. I also loved living in France, possibly even more. I find that people are very similar to English people in culture, in the things they like to do, in their attitude, and I was very happy. And so, in fact, when I was looking for jobs to start my own laboratory, I was applying all over Europe, including France. My preference would have been to stay in France because I was so happy, but actually I was offered a job back here in the UK, which is my home, and that's why I moved back home. So for me, it's a fantastic opportunity, and what you learn is that actually foreign people are very similar to us. People are very similar. It doesn't matter the country you come from, really. We all have similar values and similar things we want in life. And I now no longer really see people as being foreign. That idea to me, it doesn't make sense.
So I used to be quite strange in the lab. You look at me, we were across the bench to each other making experiments. And I used to look at you, and we smiled, and we laughed, and we cried. and for me, it was quite strange. I was talking to my mother recently, and she was, "Oh, Will, I miss Will because you spent some holidays at my place in Algarve."
Yeah.
And you met my grandmother and everything, so I'm a very spoiled child. But it was a very fantastic experience to be in UK and gave me a lot of things. Another what do you think, what habits and resources have helped you in the final step for us scientists what is really difficult is the last stage for writing the thesis and doing the experiments. What was the driving force that gave you to finish that part? I know I was there,
Yes.
but and you are. So what advice can you give to students that are finishing their studies, to have a focus? What advice that you will give them?
Well, I did find it very difficult to finish my PhD to write because in the UK, for example, the PhD thesis is very long and it took me a long time to write it. It took about 6 months and I spent a lot of this time at home, mainly because our lab was so noisy. It was
Oh, it
impossible to
was.
concentrate, if you remember.
But you
And that,
wrote much more than me at lab. You were able to do. I was doing. I was unable to do everything at the same time. I had to ask Kwanzaa to go home. Home was looking to a wall in
yes.
South Kensington, but it was quite hard.
And this can be very lonely as well because
Yeah.
you're at home all day. So what motivated me is that I really wanted to graduate and I knew I wanted to do a postdoc job. And in order to do that, I had to complete. So it is very hard writing the thesis. But imagine you hear stories sometimes of PhD students who don't write their thesis. And it's such a shame because you've done all of that work and it's important work, but you don't finally get the degree. So I think motivation was understanding that I really wanted to finish, to show my parents and my friends, and then to take the job. And
Yeah,
I
it's
was,
really
yes,
funny.
I was lucky that I shared a house with nice people who every evening would ask me what I'd done and help motivate me to keep going. And even if I'd had a bad day, so some days you don't work so well, they were very encouraging. And they said, you have to understand that this is a marathon. We're not running a sprint every day. This is a long period. You must understand
Exactly.
that you are making progress. So they kept my spirits up a lot.
Yeah, yeah. And for me it was hard because English is not my second language. You were working in English.
Of
Now in
course,
Portugal everybody writes in English.
yes.
But it's hard for me. I was reading papers and my English was not so good as yours, but for me
No,
I
of
was
course.
able to do it. So it was quite hard um for me as well
Of course,
again.
yes, it was much easier for me. But then I think that when we write science, we should use very simple language. And
Words.
now I try and write more and more simply. So when I was younger, I used to like using very complicated words because I thought it was nice. But now I think the opposite, because what I want is for everyone to be able to read my science. So I try
Yeah.
and find very short sentences and the most simple word I can, and I try and make it simple. So I don't think amazing ability at English is a big skill for writing science. Better is to try and find a simple word to explain your idea, and that in itself is a real skill we have to practice.
And I think that you are right, definitely. And do you have mentors along your? Do you have a fabulous career as a scientist? And do you have any kind of mentors? You were in a screen, so you were in. I remember you probably you had been to Tübingen. Want
Tübingen,
to?
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So it wasn't your first time in Germany.
it
So
was,
do you have
yes.
mentors, people that you admire and you look up
I
in
do,
your
yes.
career?
So at each place I've worked, I've always had mentors, but sometimes this is very informal. So, for
Mm.
example, during my PhD, I worked with a fantastic postdoc, Klaus Rohr, and he was very helpful.
Oh, I remember.
Remember Klaus? Yeah. And he taught me really the basics of science, of how to write a paper, how to design a nice experiment. In my job here in Leicester, I was given a mentor when I started, an official mentor, and that was very useful to understand lots of things about how the university works. But this mentoring, it can be from anybody and very informal. So even talking to fellow PhD students is really important because you can pick
Yeah.
up ideas and tips about what to do next. So
Yeah.
I do believe in mentoring, and I certainly try and find people to help, and hopefully I help them as well. But the mentor, it doesn't have to be official, so you don't always have to look up to people.
Yeah.
You can look around to find people, let's say.
Yeah.
So
You are
lots of
right.
people can help you.
Klaus was really cool. He was so funny, wearing shorts. He
We
was
can't talk
really
about
funny,
this.
very German.
Yes,
We had a very international lab. It
we
was
did.
everybody
And that
from,
was wonderful. And that
yeah.
led to me realizing that we're all very similar people. It really doesn't matter
Yeah,
where you come
it was
from.
really funny. And during Christmas time, it was amazing.
Yes.
Everybody and having telling how Christmas was. And do you remember that time that 1 week was Portugal week? We bring food from one country, and then was Greek week. Marika brought things from another country, from Greece,
And
and it
yes,
was fun.
very nice.
So yeah, it was really nice. I think that's a way of doing science. So it's
It
not
is.
only focus on science. We should focus on people and how people take care of each other, and that's the way of that's the path we may follow. Um, Another thing. Did you bring the object, or
No, because I'm at home. The problem is I can't go to my lab because of coronavirus. So
yeah?
all the things I own are
I have a
home.
question about that.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's but first of all, I would like you to ask if now you have a position, you are a lecturer in
Yes.
University of Leicester. Do you think to move again, because scientists are always moving and
I don't know. If I was given a really good job, so my job is permanent. I'm very lucky.
oh,
In theory, I can stay here forever, and it's very nice here in Leicester. It's a city many people don't know, but it's very comfortable, and the university is good. And of course, I have a family, so I'd have to ask my partner if she wanted to move as well. So over time, it gets more difficult. If I was given a really good offer, of course, I would be tempted.
yeah.
But I don't know. I just have to see what happens in
Yeah,
the
and
future.
now with coronavirus, we have to live one day after another and plan
Yes,
our things, and
of
it's really.
course. But this will pass at some point. In 1 year, we will
I
resume, and
So
then we can
my
see.
question for you is, like, I was thinking because um, people remember Paul Martin's lab. I don't remember the name of the postdoc. He was an American, and he was studying the zebrafish as a model for disease. Do you think zebrafish could be a zebrafish using zebrafish uh, to study COVID-19? Do you think it's feasible? Or I think what they think, what I have been reading is that COVID-19 doesn't infect zebrafish. So zebrafish is resistant somehow to COVID-19. So I don't know if it's a good model
I
or.
don't know because it's not really my area. I think perhaps we know the receptor the virus can bind to. It's called
Two.
ACE2, I think. So perhaps
Yeah.
you could try and understand the basic function of this receptor or where the receptor is active in the body. So you could
Uh-huh.
ask some simple questions. I'm not
Yeah.
sure I'm convinced I would use a zebrafish to study COVID-19.
I think it's because we know I'm not selling you zebrafish. You sell everybody zebrafish because I'm doing science communication now. But I'm going to give a class next week in of course a Zoom class in one of Portuguese universities that I give classes sometimes, and it's going to be about zebrafish and COVID. So I'm doing revising all the literature, and it's a lot. And I'm going to talk about zebrafish, where I did my PhD, and now about COVID-19. And I'm having ideas if it's a good model or not. So I'm doing this from home.
This research.
Another question that I have. You never, when you were in France, you never thought that it could be, it could be. Remember, Marika in our lab, she applied. She wasn't French, and she
Yes.
applied for a CNRS position. Could you explain a little bit for students and PhD students what is? You have a position now, a very good position like CNRS, but how is the French system in France, where everybody wants to have a CNRS position? It's like
the system in France is different. So here in England, you're hired by your own university. So the person who hired me and the person that pays me is the University of Leicester. In France, all the scientists, they're like civil servants. So they're employed by the government, not by the university. And so when you get a job, you both have to find a university who would like you to work there. And then you have to enter a competition to get your government position. And there's different government agencies you can apply to. There's one called the CNRS, which you've mentioned already. There's INSERM and INRA, who all have slightly different focuses on agriculture, for example, on medical research or pure biology research. So you then have to win your position from the government, and you enter a competition with all the other French or international applicants, and you write your application and you go for interview. And if you're successful, then it's actually the government that pays your salary.
And it's a dream job, because you have a dream job as well,
yes.
Will.
It's just a different way to do it. It means that there are minor differences in how the career works in France, because you work for the government and not the university. It means it's perhaps easier to change institutions, so you can try and ask another university if you want to move, because you bring your salary with you. Whereas, of course, my money is linked to Leicester. And if I want to move, I have to find another university to pay my salary. So when I was applying for jobs in France, yes, I considered applying for the CNRS competition, because that would be the way I could get my salary. But ultimately, I was offered a permanent job in the UK, and I was very young to be offered a permanent job. So it was too tempting, basically.
And in your experience, in terms of networking, because people don't think now, all the scientists go to TV morning shows, and you don't imagine the people that I used to work, colleagues and teachers of mine, are all in the media, and everybody is talking about. So in terms of networking and political things, because people don't know a lot about that it's a lot of politics in science. Who comes first in the papers, who comes second, who comes last. Could you explain a little bit of that to students or to people that are watching us, and about networking also? It's important, isn't it? And if you have, did you do a lot of networking, or if you after your postdoc you did more networking? Could you explain a little bit of science politics to us?
That's a big question. Yes, there's politics in science. There's probably politics in everything humans do, unfortunately. It is very important. It's important who you put on your papers, who writes the grant, so who has the idea and gets the money, and then where your name comes on a paper. And so you have to be careful who you talk to about things sometimes, and to make good alliances with people. And that, of course, is linked to networking. So networking is important. I think it's very important to find a group of people who you're really comfortable with and who you get on with very nicely. So I was lucky that I came from, my PhD lab was big and had lots of very
we can go upstairs and ask someone an antibody. Exactly. Or it
and
was
to a
like
large
this.
extent, so many of the people I work with now, I've known since that time, and we grew up together. I've known them for nearly 20 years now. And when you have a good connection, when you're like friends, it's much easier to work together. It's also important to go to conferences because you learn a lot of new information, but that's another opportunity to meet people. So when I'm reading papers, I often come across the same names on the papers about something I'm very excited about. And so it's really good if you can get an opportunity to talk to them. And so at the conference, it's the coffee break is equally important, and the poster session, because then you have an opportunity to talk to people. So I believe if you want to work together, you really have to sit down and have a dinner or drink a coffee together and get to know
But
each other
that's gonna
personally.
be hard now. Everything is online. The fish
I,
conference.
temporarily, but I think humans are social animals. We will go back to meeting in person. It's amazing what we can do online. I think we will see many more online conferences and working together online, but I still believe we have to spend time together, and we will spend time
Yeah,
together.
I'm craving for my friends in, and whether you, of course, you are invited to come every with your family to
Yes,
spend holidays in Algarve. And
we should
weather
do it.
here is so nice, but
Yes,
we have to be at home. It's really difficult.
it is difficult. Yeah, I mean, I'm very
But you,
lucky that I have a house with a garden, so I can go outside in my garden.
I don't
Here
have
it's
a balcony, so it's like just watching on the
yeah, it's
windows.
very difficult. But so networking it's really important. But I only network with people who I like. So rather than looking for the most famous person, I try
Yeah.
and find people I feel comfortable with. Even if they're not a superstar professor, you can work together to build things together over a long period of
That's a
time.
very good point on that, Will. That's because people are, oh, that's Lucille von Hart or someone in Carl Philipp Eisenberg. Oh, I'm going to talk with him and everything. But then you realize, oh, it's not like me. It's really hard to talk with him. He does this and does that, and I don't agree. And it's difficult just because
Yes.
he's in a very big institute or a big name or something like that, and then it's hard, and then it can be scooped.
So it's important you trust each other. This is the most important thing because you're going to share new results people haven't seen. So I rather just go for people I like and work together like
Yeah,
this.
and everybody's talking about the papers that come in Lancet, and then they are not people, but they come in a scientific journal, and we cannot trust. Oh, that's so it's weird. And we are, oh, you don't imagine a lot of papers that come in Science and Cell, and it's not really true, or the results are not really so trusty. And so it's like it's a question because people want to publish. There's a lot of pressure when you are finished your PhD, and pressure from your supervisors to publish and to have results, isn't it?
Yes, but the most important thing is that you yourself are happy with your science because of course, it's wonderful to have a paper in Lancet or Nature, but we all understand that it's not only amazing science, it's also the politics and the name of the person that sent the paper.
Yeah.
So there's very good science published in all journals. And we know that it's very difficult to get papers into Lancet and Nature for different
Yeah.
reasons. So the most important thing is that as a scientist yourself, you're proud of the work you've done. And when you can say, this is the best piece of work I can do, I can't make it better, then you publish, and it does not matter where you publish. Because
Oh,
when
yeah.
I'm researching, I read papers from all sorts of journals. I don't just read Nature, I read any journal that has an article which I need to complete my project. So as long as the projects I publish are the best I can do, then I'm happy.
You know that I've wrote recently. So my publications were from 2009, but I wrote this year a review in Nature Nature publisher, Springer Nature. So I wrote a review, and I had my external hard drive where I have my PhD thesis. and they asked me, they invited me to write a chapter of the book, and I forget, I'm in science communication, I don't I don't know if I'll be able to do it. But then I could see my thesis, and I said, oh, I'm gonna give it a try. So I was backing up and everything, and then I started writing, and I wrote a 20-page chapter about wind and cancer. And
Wow.
yes, and of course it was with the help of a PhD student. She was fantastic as well. But it was, and I have now a publication in 2020. So,
Yeah, well
and
done.
I was like, this is very good for my CV and everything. And but of course, people also have another idea of scientists that we publish and we receive money. That's not true.
Oh no, it's the opposite. We publish and we pay money.
Yeah, and when we talk about this, I was talking with my friends from football. You know, one thing I remember in our lab was when it was the Euro, and when it was the soccer, football leagues and everything, Zolt and everybody were watching games from different countries. It was really, really good fun.
Very
But
nice.
so what I was realizing is people that they think, oh, you should receive money. Of course I should receive, but it's about, my mom always says, oh, you are so, people think good things about you, you are so clever and everything, but you don't have money. Of course, mom. I published a paper in Springer, a chapter in Springer Nature. It's very good for my scientific career, but it doesn't bring money. I was glad I didn't have to pay, but it's really hard,
Yes.
isn't it, to get
It is,
funding?
but then if they paid you, you might be biased. So I
Of
think
course.
because we're not paid to write the article, then we can be honest if we think something isn't good, for example. So we probably can't be paid. It's very indirect. You use the paper to increase your profile as a scientist, to improve your name, and then you can use that to apply for jobs or grant applications. So it's a very indirect method.
Yeah.
It's a bit strange, maybe.
And about the hobbies, what you do? You like to go to the pub? I like to go to the pub as well.
I used to. All the pubs are shut.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we had good times in Jeremy Bentham and in
did.
Soho. It was really nice. And that's when remember we organized the zebrafish meeting conference at UCL.
Yes, we went
with
to the
bees.
aquarium.
And we had the big London aquarium dinner. It was
That's
really
amazing.
It was really posh.
It's really nice.
But yeah, it was really, I think we made history, Will.
I went to a conference maybe 5 years ago in Lisbon, and we also had a dinner in the aquarium in Lisbon. It was also amazing. Do you know the big tank in the center, the big circular
Yeah, it's really
tank?
near my flat here. It's like 15 minutes walking.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now it reopened. It's one of the things that only reopen now.
Okay, good.
And I do walkings now. I'm now very healthy, very fit, and I do walkings near the oceanarium. So it's really nice to be there. And,
very nice.
Yeah, and you are another thing. I think you have a very good skill for language, because when you are in the lab, that's one of your hobbies. You like to read a lot, and that's
true. I like to read, and I can learn languages quite easily. I'm quite lucky. Easy
it's
languages.
fantastic. How can scientists are multitasking? Because I've been interviewed for a month or 2 months already, interviews, and they do all amazing things. ones like music, others like art and do art and science, others like language and writing. And you learn, when I talk with you, you reply me in Portuguese, and I said, oh, it's Will, he knows all the language.
More or less, right. But
So
I think that you have
say
to be curious to be a scientist. You're always asking questions, and I think that it covers all different things, arts and music. It's that drive to find out something new and learn something new. Your brain is like a muscle, you have to exercise it. So it doesn't matter if you learn about music or literature. It's good if you're always stretching your brain and it keeps it fit. So just like you go out for your walks, you also have to exercise your brain, and learning a language is one way to exercise the brain.
yeah, great. So I think we are finishing. I would like to thank you, Will. It was such a pleasure to be with you. I miss you loads.
It's nice to see you.
We went to a rock concert when you were
Yeah, we saw Lenny Kravitz.
To see Lenny Kravitz, yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, it was
Happy times.
Yeah. It was great. But you can come whenever you want to Portugal. You are invited to come to
That's
our
nice.
to Algarve.
My partner, Sandra, she comes from Porto, so I'm actually in Portugal quite often. So maybe we should come and visit you in Lisbon.
Yeah, you can come. You
We
are
can bring
invited
Martin with
with
us.
Sandra.
Yeah.
Okay, so say have a nice day, have a great weekend, everything goes well with you, and I miss you loads. Thank you very much.
Thank you for interviewing me. Bye-bye.
Bye.